All right, it is blustery hot out there, but not as bad as yesterday. So I just cut some wood and had to get. I was just soaked. I had to take a shower there. My chainsaw was sweating. I didn't think a chainsaw could sweat, but yeah, apparently they can. It's like give me a freaking break, man. But anyway, that would pile down. So just so you know, hard work, you accomplish things. But anyway, to the task at hand, and that is the election. Okay, so I listened to Harper speak today. I've listened to Justin Trudeau a little bit. I haven't heard what Thomas Mulcair is offering today. I'll start with Harper because he's the guy who's got everything to lose right now, and it looks like what they were talking about, what I jumped into in watching, was they were talking about crime and stuff like that, and life means life is the new bill that they want to table, and then if they get an extra, next election. Now they tabled this before, but they didn't get a chance to get it done. And the reporters were there. So the ones that actually asked questions on policy, they were saying, well, what about rehabilitation and stuff like that? And again, everybody kicks Harper in the nuts when they ask. There's nobody giving him easy questions at all. You know what I mean? Because again, the guy, you have to understand the CBC. All they keep asking about is the Duffy trial. But you have to understand, and you already see the propaganda from the CBC. Harper's got to be accountable for cutting the CBC because it's such a great thing. They're going to cut more from the CBC. That's a good thing. I'm for that. Thomas Mulcair wants to restore the $150 million that they cut from the CBC. I'm like, the Harper government only cut $150 million from the CBC? Privatize the damn thing already. It's like, get rid of it. Even people in the CRTC were saying that, look, the CBC, isn't what it was designed to be. It didn't come out. It's now, top 40, The guy basically said that the programming is junk. And the news side of it, no problem. But again, it's supposed to be non-biased, but it's clearly you could, in the last election they were pushing the narrative of the Liberal government. This time they're really pushing the Tom Mulcair as a saint kind of thing because he's the one that's going to give them the most, right? But they're not supposed to be doing that. That goes against the CBC's principles and journalistic integrity in the first place. So they're out there doing that. So they're really trying to make Harper look bad. And I'm not saying Harper's a saint, but you could see the agenda. Everybody's got an agenda, right? So they're talking about that. Meanwhile, other people people in the crowd are like, enough already. Like there's 6 questions in a row about the Duffy trial. One's enough. They move along. And people, so I think a lot of people see the Duffy trial for what it is. Yes, it's a scandal, sure, but like anything, it's scandal light in comparison to the billions of dollars boondoggles that the Liberals have done over the years, and it's just scam after scam after scam, right? We'll even start with the gun registry. I mean, $2 billion, nobody could track a cent of it. $58 million to run the darn thing, according to the RCMP report. So people are sick and tired of those kind of things. So when they see this, they say, okay, well, we get it. It's bad, but is Harper guilty of anything? And even is Mike Duffy guilty? I mean, I don't really understand what this trial's about. Now, Mike Duffy, he's a bastard. He is. He's going through this trial, and they keep bringing the witnesses that he's already on the upper hand here. Okay, but this is the kind of guy he is. He's trying to make Harper look bad out of, to get vengeance, like that type of thing. His lawyer has already kind of cleared the guy. I mean, I don't like Duffy and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he should be charged. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the hand, they're keeping it. He's keeping him and his lawyer keeping the trial, that part of the trial, going through the election to hurt the Conservatives. So it's clear and obvious. It doesn't matter if you're for them or against them. Everybody has an agenda. And, you better believe after the election. I mean, you're not going to hear nothing about that trial hardly at all. But you can see that, there's people that, this is the only thing we got on him was, if that's the only thing you've got on Harper, that's not too bad considering. It's not good, but and even at that, it's not really him, it's between 2 other guys. So yes, it was under his watch, but it's like a store owner owns a store and 2 guys are running drugs out of the back of the store and he doesn't know about it, and all of a sudden, it's that you have to prove that this guy knew, right? So it is what it is. So is the scandal bad? Yes, the scandal is bad, but it's scandal light. All the conservative scandals so far really have been scandal light, but they are scandals, and yes, that should be addressed and that should be taken care of. But you got to see it for what it is in comparison to what we're going to get with the NDP. It's going to be, look, they're talking about $130,000. Meanwhile, Thomas Mulcair's party was, getting something like $2 million from the taxpayer to run offices they didn't use. You know what I mean? So, and nobody's talking about that. It's bizarre, you know. Like but I digress. So anyway, one reporter asks, policy questions on the life means life, and what about rehabilitation. And Harper, I think he said it the way most Canadians see it. He says, look, don't get me wrong. There's a scary, this can go out of control. That it's the criminal justice systems. We need it to be the victim's justice system, meaning these. Personally, I don't believe in parole. I don't believe in it at all. When you get charged for something and you're found guilty, I believe in your day in court. That goes without saying. I believe in due process. But when you're found guilty, no early parole for good behavior, nothing. You did the crime, you're going to do the time. And I think that's what they're moving towards. However, how far will they step over the line is, okay, we no longer need warrants, and, that type of stuff. That's what people have to worry about. But what he's saying is for heinous crimes of people that really hurt other people, and rather than having the families have to relive the the parole hearing after hearing after hearing, I think what they want to do is when you get a life sentence, it's mandatory. You're not going to get out early. And they're also talking about adding on, let's say, because I think right now the max you can get is 25 years for life, but let's say you murdered 6 people, okay, but you're just going to get 25 years. So basically one person's, you got punishment for one person, but the other 5 are not. So the way I'm understanding it, maybe I'm wrong, and we'll have to wait and see if there's ever going to be a bill on this. The idea is each person, you can add on extra sentences. So the judges can actually add on extra sentences for, to accountability. The idea is lock them up, throw away the key. That's the simple answer, if they've done so. Rehabilitation, I think Harper, again, I don't know why this man stays away from the cameras so much, because he actually does explain himself well. So far, he's the only one I've been really hearing talking exact, specific policy of what they want to do. This is the plan we got here for here, and here. Not we got ideas. This is what we want to do because we didn't get it done the last time. And he said it best because the reporter said, "Well, didn't you guys table this bill before?" I said, "Yes, but like no government in the history of Parliament has ever passed everything they wanted to pass. It's like, but he said we've done it quite a bit, and it's true. They have passed a lot of bills. I think they hold the record. But even at that, there's so many bills to pass that there's no way they're going to get them all done, right?" So that said, yeah, he addressed that, and then he said, "Okay, what?" He says he does understand, and he says it's not that they don't understand. Conservatives and Canadians alike don't, whether they're conservative or not. But most Canadians understand that yes, there are some people that you cannot rehabilitate. It is not possible. They're too far gone. And for those people, he said, his argument was that Thomas Mulcair and Justin Trudeau they blame the system. So somebody murdered somebody, they blame the system. Say that the system failed them, which. I do share some of that argument. Again, I'll be fair about this. There is some argument that he also kind of addressed it, but what he also said was that, the victim has to come first. The victim has to come first. I say yes, as long as due process, the whole point of the Magna Carta was that rather than have, you'd rather have 100 guilty men walk free than convict one innocent man. If you don't do it that way, I'm pretty sure the odds are pretty good in favor. I'm pretty sure 100 guilty men don't walk free. But the concept is there. So you actually have to have the burden of evidence on the side of the Crown in order to charge somebody, which I agree with. Because if somebody isn't guilty, you're not putting them away. Because if you don't have that, you basically have the Salem witch hunt, right? So, we see now those trials went. We don't want that again. With that said, that's their take on it. Now, I do know how Thomas Mulcair and Justin Trudeau view rehabilitation. I do agree with that side too, because depending on what it is, the kid that goes out and does graffiti on the wall, I say don't throw him in jail, don't throw him in juvie hall. You make him earn he wants to paint the wall. That's fine. Here's the scrub brush. Here's the paint. You're gonna clean it. He'll never do that. The kid that steals the car, make them work community service until they've paid for that car. Yeah, they're going to be old and gray by the time they're done, but you know what I mean? They won't do it again. And if they do it again after that time, strike 2, we don't need strike 3. Strike 2 is enough. in this day and age, people do know right from wrong. Anybody says, well, it's because I was upbringing, nobody taught me well. No, the law, there are certain laws that, okay, people say, okay, no one's going to know subsection Article 3 of Paragraph 9. They're not going to know that under the Charter of, people are not going to know that. But the common sense stuff, the vandalism, this don't steal, don't kill, don't hurt, people know that naturally. They know what's wrong. So I can see both sides of the argument, and he did address, rehabilitation is one thing, but we have to, but the people that are way gone, look, the Greyhound bus killer, yes, he mentally unstable, sure, but he only got 6 years for cutting a guy's head off on a bus with a knife. You can go to jail for 3 years for not not having a proper, firearms license. You know what I mean? Like, can you not see and those things need to be addressed. So that guy should still get 25 years. Yes, he was insane. Where he spends his time, that's where I think the sanity thing is a different. But the crime is the crime, and it's not going to make people that have lost loved ones feel any better. Just say, well, it's because he was mentally ill. That's why he did it. So we're only going to give him lesser sentence. No. You did the crime. You do the time. Where you spend your time, if it's a psychological problem, then you're going to spend it in the psychiatric ward. If it's, I get it. It's a complex issue, and it's case by case basis. But I get that. So anyway, the next topic was, and I'll just finish up with the Conservatives. He was talking about the military to increase from 24,000 reservists to 30,000. Again, we do know we're moving towards a big war. His stance on Ukraine is still the same. His stance on ISIS is obviously still the same, and that type of thing. So we'll have to watch out for what kind of over-the-line laws are going to go there. Like, again, there's good things and bad things that they do. I'm not 100% against anything. I like to dissect things. Say, I like this part of it, but I don't like that part of it. Because you can kind of, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's if you see something you don't like, you bitch about it. Look, Bill C-51, they brought it back to the table, 2-3 times? Think about that. Bully them. They work for us. Bully them. So that type of thing. So he did talk about that. He also talked about, more Veterans Affairs stuff. They all say that, but, Justin Trudeau said it, that he's going to take better care of the Veterans Affairs. Thomas Mulcair, I don't think he really talked about it at all. He's bitched about Harper cutting things, but he hasn't really offered anything from what I've heard. So far, maybe he has, but in all fairness, but not from what I've heard. So that's kind of what the new goodies that they want to get. And the last question that he got, that I'll finish up on, then I'll go to Justin Trudeau, was that somebody asked, said, look, the Liberals said that they weren't going to form a coalition government if they won a minority government. Is the Conservative government willing to work with the other parties in a coalition or whatever, just to be able to get things passed through? Well, one thing Harper said was, he said, look, the election, he goes, I'm in it to win it, and of course the guy's in it to win it, you could tell he's in it to win it. And he said that, look, if we get a minority government, that, the people are telling us something. So then, we got to kind of work with other people to get things done. If not, you'll see what you have in the States, right? And I think a half-assed bill is better than no bill, and just keep things moving along. One advantage of a minority government is it gives you 4 years of, kind of craziness reprieve, because very few things get done, which, yes, is still an obscene waste of money, but on the other hand, if you're opposed to the government in power, they don't just sweep the board and do everything that you don't want them to do. But if you're for the government in power, you got to be more patient, so it's going to go that way. Now, Justin Trudeau, I only caught a last few snippets of what his thing was, and he was talking about, now first he gets to the lady that, I got a question for you. How does it feel to be in the happiest city in the country? I'm like, okay, that's sweet and dear and all that, but I mean, you get only so many questions, okay, during these little things. Ask something about his policies, but then again, maybe that's the whole thing. There is no policies. But he did say, and I'm not against it and I'm not for it. Problem is when they promise something, my biggest problem is how are you going to pay for it? That's my whole thing. Nobody would call me a hardcore conservative. Nobody wouldn't call me a socialist. I'd probably be more nationalist, libertarian, protect the country, protect the jobs, and have as much liberty in the country as possible, and fiscally conservative. I am fiscally conservative. If you can't pay for it, you can't have it. That type of thing, because it's the same as your own household, right? So you got to live within your means. And Harper did address that, Canadians just have to live within their means because of the global economic situation isn't good. Again, he's the only prime minister I hear saying that. Now, Justin Trudeau has addressed this, so has Thomas Mulcair, but they're putting the spin on it that the whole reason why the economy is doing bad is because of Harper. No, it's because the world is in a world of hurt. And, Harper's also said that, like the policies that they're pursuing is going to do this. Now, Justin Trudeau comes out and says what they want to do is put $200 million a year into green technologies to get the economy going. I'm not opposed to that, as long as it's how we were going to pay for it. Now, $200 million, I could come up with the $200 million right away. UN, take 200 million. I'd say actually take the whole 400 million away from the UN, okay? Or do cuts at the CBC, because there's probably $2 or $3 billion right there. So yeah, they could do this per year. They could do this per year, okay? And put that into our technologies, and then yeah, okay, I'm for that. The next thing, we can cut 400 million from the IMF. We can cut 400 million from the Queen. We can cut 400 million from NATO. We can cut 400 million. I'd take 200 million of the cut from NATO and put it into NORAD, because that's right on our border. And you take another 100 million, put it right into our military equipment, ships, etc., etc. That type of thing. That's what I would do, but I don't know what they're going to do. Now, as far as technologies, green technologies, look, ethanol was a bust. The technology isn't bad. It's just it's not really economical. There's just too much moving things around to, it actually costs more. The guy with the shine still that in the bush or whatever, yeah, he can make ethanol a lot easier, sure, on a small scale. But it seems like on a big scale, it's too. The corn crops don't grow fast enough. That's another problem we have around Canada, the United States. 80% of our crops are grown for biofuel. I'm not against it, but I'm like, got to eat first. Everything else is second. Got to eat first. Maybe if they said 20%, I'd be okay with that. Justin Trudeau did refer to resource development. Yeah, so again, you're not going to get much difference between remember, technically the Liberals are center-left party, okay? And they still kind of are. The Harper government, the Conservatives, or whatever you want to call them, which they're socialist fascist, but they're center-right is what they are. And they really are the moderates. When you compare our governments, I mean, our politicians are boring. And like the most anomaly type of politician we've had that was like, kind of, oh my God, almost kind of rivals some of the wingbats in the Congress in the States is Rob Ford. That's the most exciting politician we've had, like off the deep end kind of politician we've had in a while. Other ones even that are off the deep end a bit, it's like one statement here, one statement there. The rest of them are pretty darn boring. But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I watched the Young Turks there about a week or so ago, and they were showing like the GOP debate and the sideshow that was. And they said, oh yeah, by the way, there was another debate that took place up in Canada. Let's see how that went. Everybody's trim and proper, and letting everybody finish their sentences. And but I have a counterpoint. May I please? That type of thing. And at the end of it, they shake hands and say sorry to each other, and then they go about their business of trashing each other on the campaign later, right? And it's so subtle. It's like British humor subtle. It's if a lot of people don't. The insults fly back and forth between Thomas Mulcair more than you just have to listen to the other. But Harper's a pretty crafty, like the way he insults, and he does that weird kind of smirk. He does that thing when he does it, and it's real quick. It's like, kind of like, I just got a big booyah. Justin Trudeau, he's not quite into the game of the insults flying back and forth quite well enough yet, but he is firing back. I gotta say, yes. I am holding the man a bit accountable for the actions of his dad, and his dad did set the country on a freaking off-the-cliff kind of thing, got rid of the gold standard, Charter of Rights and Freedoms doesn't have the right to property in it, he nearly broke up the country, mass immigration started on his watch, etc., etc., etc. And borrow, spend, got rid of the Bank of Canada, rather than crediting money into existence, it is now, by private banks, the same as the States, got rid of the gold standard, if I didn't already say that. You get the idea. He's done a lot of bad things. Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau's love him or hate him. Now, Justin Trudeau, I think if worst case scenario, and he did become the Prime Minister, I think he'd be the worst out of the three because of the incompetence. But I don't think he would be as bad as you would think. I think he would just probably wouldn't get as much done as you'd think. But I do think he would do a lot of social issues that would just make people go, what the bleeping F. Business-wise, I don't think he'd really hurt the economy that much because he's not going to really do anything much different than Harper. At the end of the day, the corporations, it doesn't matter if it's a left corporation or right corporations, they're going to do what the donors want. So industry will switch from oil to whatever. Again, Thomas Mulcair and all those guys, they're just invested in different stuff, like the housing and stuff like that. The other thing I did hear Thomas Mulcair talk about was, or Justin Trudeau talk about, was foreign investment in the housing sector and addressing that. Now, his stance, from what I understand, was to make it easier for Canadians to get homes. But again, I don't know how he's going to implement this plan. That type of thing. So we'll have to see what, Thomas Mulcair talked about being more friendly to foreign investment. I don't know. With Thomas Mulcair, it's just because the NDP has links to the Communist Party of China. It did start it was called the New Democratic Party because the Canadian Communist Party wasn't allowed at the time. But they had communist supporters. Thomas Mulcair is very, very, he tells you how much he loves the UN. Almost every NDP policy is a UN-backed policy. Not good. Meaning, they'll adopt everything from the UN, goodbye. We lose sovereignty either through the UN or through globalism, which is kind of going to go the same way anyway. One world government is already here. It's not coming, it's here. The North American Union, Justin Trudeau was gloating about that as well. Harper hasn't really talked about it a lot, but he has talked about it. And he talks about it from a jobs point of view. Okay, Justin Trudeau talks about it from a improving relations point of view. Thomas Mulcair has talked about it as we need to help the rest of the world kind of point of view. But the point is they're all on the same page. So it doesn't matter which way you vote there about the North American Union. They're all on the same bus. There's no difference there. It's just what method are they going to use? What are they going to prop up? We know immigration was more heavily adopted by the Liberals at first because of the $50,000 bonuses that were going to, Liberal the immigration officers and stuff like that every time they landed, get a citizenship and stuff like that. And that, Chrétien was invested in that when he was around. So that's what he was. Now Harper, again, the Conservative government. If you're an immigrant, you love the Harper government because. From 130,000, which I thought was way too much from the Trudeau years to now, that's 40 years of 130,000 people coming in. Harper gets in, it's now 250,000. Thomas Mulcair gets in, they're bringing in 500,000 people per year. Way too damn many. Way too damn many. It's too much, too fast. We see what's happening around the world with the mass immigration, very dangerous. So that's kind of the things that you're looking at. So crime and punishment, I guess, was the order of the day for Harper today, and the military and security, and that's what he was talking about. And then Justin Trudeau was talking about green energy and stuff like that. And again, I'm not opposed to the ideas. I don't really care which idea that it's. Can we pay for it? To me, I don't like the idea when a politician comes out, we're going to say throw a new couple $100 million there, $200 million there, and make these promises, because the big problem you have is, how about I'd love a politician to come out and say, you're not getting anything new. We're just going to maintain what we have. We're going to try to find more monies to put into the retirement, more monies to put into the healthcare. Now, as far as on retirement, Thomas Mulcair wants to restore the 65 years down from 67 back to what it was, which I agree with that. However, on the Harper side, they don't want to do that. They want to keep it at 67 for now, but it doesn't matter. None of us are going to get to retire anyway. The economies are going to give out way before that. But the thing is what they're talking about is a tax-free retirement savings going from $5,000 to $10,000. So this will help the middle class quite a bit. I think tax-free retirement savings plans, make sure that, the stipulation is you can't touch it until you retire, but tax-free, even if you don't gain hardly any interest. It's the idea and seniors should not, I don't know if they are or not, so if I'm wrong on this, please correct me, but seniors should not be taxed when they get their pension checks, period. They've paid their dues, you know what I mean? They've been in it for a lot longer than we have. Give them what they deserve. Healthcare, I haven't heard anybody really talk a lot about healthcare, not even the Liberals. You have to understand, here in Quebec, we've got an NDP provincial government, and we have a Liberal minority or provincial government, and a federal government is NDP. The hospital cuts have been crazy over here. So again, we're under a socialist, two socialist forms of government, And, the Liberals are just cutting and slashing stuff here like you wouldn't believe. But the taxes are going up. You're paying more, but you're getting less. Now, it's funny when, you hear in Ontario where they're calling it out, the Conservatives for austerity, but they're not talking about it in Quebec. Provincial government is not federal government. I get that. But the parties are the parties. They're, at the end of the day, the federal party leader is going to trump all the provincial leaders. You know what I mean? He's the grand poobah. He or she are going to be the grand poobah. So we got to watch out for that. So that's why I don't think you're hearing too much from the Justin Trudeau side on expanding healthcare and stuff like that, which used to be the thing they would come out first. Healthcare, because that's usually the top of the list. Right now, it's other than the CBC, who's just trying to keep the spotlight on one thing, the Duffy trial, which people are sick of it. It's like, okay, we know what's going on. We know what a Harper's answer is going to be. Why do you're beating a dead horse? You're wasting time. Again, they're only going to get maybe 4 or 5 questions, 6 questions max asked with these leaders. People want, and when 3 or 4 of them are wasted on that, people are like, okay, we know what they're going to say. We know what's going on. We're smart enough to think for ourselves. What we really want to do. I'm not saying don't cover it. What I'm saying is ask policy questions. That's what that's what people want to know. What are you going to do for us? And stuff like that. So I think people look. Last time, okay, Michael Ignatieff, the Liberal leader at the time, the CBC was going hell bent to promote this guy as a saint, and they lost big time. So maybe this might backfire on Thomas Mulcair and Justin Trudeau. They're not promoting Trudeau as much as I thought they would. I figured they would be all over it, but maybe Justin Trudeau isn't going to be restoring the money to the CBC. Thomas Mulcair has said he would restore money to the CBC. Now, if you're saying, well, they should, I don't think they should. The CBC keeps a lot of media away. They're a dinosaur. They're not. Canadian programming can be brought in, okay, through the CRTC on any channel, even American channels. Say you have to carry XYZ programming. But the programming we have, what the CBC was supposed to do is be educational. News and education. Now, back in the 1980s, they switched from kind of what they started out as and went hardcore news. That they were just a news channel and that was it. Then they started bringing in, prime time stuff, and now you got all these, kind of shows. If they were like the Science Channel, the History Channel, Net Geo, that type of thing, and a news channel on top of that, even with their biases, I'd probably be okay with that. A great example of a good Canadian non-governmentally funded TV station, TVO. Yeah, they've got their primetime stuff too, after supper, but they've got tons of education stuff. Steve Palin from The Agenda, that guy is a good reporter. He'll get a guest on, and he's very respectful, and he'll okay, what's your point on this, whatever the issue is? And he says, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate now. What do you say to this criticism, And that's the way it's supposed to be done. So kudos to them. Do they get it right all the time? No. Do they show their biases too? Well, yeah, there's going to be biases. I agree with Jake Huger on this one. There's no such thing as non-biased media. Fair enough. I mean, you people probably picked up, well, you're biased this way or this way or this way. Sure, everybody will be. But it doesn't mean you can't see the objectivity of the other side. That type of thing. And that's what we have to look at in this election. I really don't know which way it's going to go at this point. I'm still predicting a Tom Mulcair win. I don't know if it's going to be a minority or a majority government. It depends on how much people are watching the debates. If Harper keeps presenting things the way he does, again, I don't know why this man does not get in front of the camera more often to explain himself, because he does debate very well. He's a veteran at it. So does Thomas Mulcair, but the problem is Thomas Mulcair hasn't given us anything. He hasn't really said, talked about what we'd like to do. What the Conservatives are saying, this is what we want to carry on doing. So there's a lot difference in competition there. I don't trust Thomas Mulcair as far as you could throw him. Justin Trudeau, tell you the truth, there are some things I agree with him. I do like the idea of green energy. But I also seen all the boondoggles of liberal promises in the past. Helicopter scandal, not the first time, but the same helicopter, the same 3 scandals with the same helicopter. How is that possible? How is that possible? And they're billion-dollar boondoggles, billions and billions and billions. It's always like $200-300 million every time. The gas thing in Ontario, again, we see the overspending. But in Ontario, what happened in the last election, provincial election, I think Tim Hudak, which would have been the best thing for Ontario, he came out too strong. And there's way too many government employees. The Titanic is sinking there. Look, over here in Quebec, you don't hear anything from Francois Couillard hardly at all, because it's like, well, we got to make cuts. It's like, Pauline Mauvois really did a number on us. Look, the Liberal government here got overthrown by the Parti Québécois, which was just a year and a half of nightmare. Completely wrecked the province. Closed down industry, did this, did that. Just complete. And they got unelected because the lefties that would have normally left, voted Liberal, said too many scandals. They're doing austerity. They're cutting education. They're cutting all the things. They're cutting retirement. They're cutting this. They're cutting that. They're raising taxes. They're doing everything that the Conservatives would be doing. Because the province is broke, right? And so they get unelected. But then it's like Pauline Mauvois, just like, okay, an extra $7.5 million into language, please. 75 billion boondoggle there. Cut down off of this. Regulate that away, and it just destroyed it. Healthcare clinic after healthcare clinic closing down. People say, okay, year and a half, get the hell out of there. You're out of there. Like, we couldn't even wait 4 years for that one, So that, again, you have to look at it province after province. How are they going to do this? The thing is that if they really want prosperity in Canada, well, number one, they got to get rid of Bill 101. Invoke Article 33 for the rest of the country, get rid of Bill 101. The French languages thing, I'm not 100% for that, because it doesn't promote culture. It bullies people into... The idea was to drive the English out, but it didn't work, because they were here just as long as the French, pretty much. And most French people in Quebec, trust me, they don't like... The proof is in the voting. I mean, they don't want Gilles Doucette. Look, Gilles Doucette has been following in the polls left, right, and center. People just don't want that. They might not like the idea of a Harper government, but the alternative... and Harper's playing the card well up here. I don't know if they're going to gain much. I think they're going to gain a little in Quebec, but not by much. But people in Quebec, trust me, I'm in Quebec, so it's getting expensive here. And it already was. It's like, I don't know, I think BC might beat us for taxes, but between BC and Quebec, it's usually the most expensive provinces to live in. So we need to have business. We need to have businesses flowing, and that's. I haven't heard any real kind of domestic policy on small business that really any of the parties have really, But you have to let people do business, Culture. Here's how you save the cultures, and I saw it with on CPAC. There was a Native lady out there saying how to implement Native teaching, education in mainstream schools, which I'm 100% for. 100% for. They have a book, they have a curriculum, and it's to show basically the history of Canada from the point of view of First Nations, which, okay, might be controversial in some areas, that's fine, but it promotes it that way. It doesn't ram it down your throat. It's not saying you have to learn one of 600 languages that were once spoken here. It's saying, no, you have to understand what your history of your country is. I'm for that. Now, what the French can do, and this little idea that I got from a little play I saw, and in the town here, in my little town here, they just did a play like on Sunday there, past, and it was like the local areas like Whitefield, Gracefield, Pontiac, and mostly in the Gatineaus, talking about Hull, the big fire in Hull, and all that. Philman Wright, all these guys, Sir Lester, Lester B. Pearson, all these people that they were talking about. And it is part of our history culture. And it was in an hour-long play, and it went around. Now, you can do stuff, and they do stuff like this in Quebec City and stuff like that. They talk about the history and stuff like that. They do this in Montreal. They do this everywhere. But that's how you get people. I guarantee you get rid of Bill 101 and promote French culture or any culture in Canada via, hey, come in willingly. We'll just tell you about the history of this building. And just really, statues, monuments, that stuff helps, but really have a geared programs that show right on the mainstream. This is what the CBC was supposed to do. Here's the version of Canada from the French. Here's the version from the British, the Scottish, the Irish. Here's the version from the First Nations. Here's the version from the Métis. Here's the version from the Chinese. Here's the version from the Inuit, etc., etc. And you can learn so much about that. You learn so much about that. That's how you promote it. And I guarantee you, as soon as they get rid of Bill 101 and get rid of the language police and all that stupid stuff, people are going to start to want to learn French. Promote it as a language of love. I don't know about Quebec French, though, because, okay, it's like the guys say, bonjour, madame, voulez-vous avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Hein? And the women goes, Yeah, we. Chase smoking French girls, you know, their deep, raspy voices. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm allowed to. I'm part French, so I'm allowed to. You know, I pick on everybody. So don't feel special if I'm picking on you. I do it to everybody. But anyway, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like that's how you promote the culture and stuff. And I don't see anybody promoting it that way. So it'd be nice to see some governments, you know, do the right thing and let the people promote their own culture. The best way to promote their own culture is don't regulate it to the point where people want to run away from it. So that's my take on things. I know it kind of digressed into different things, but you know that's what you get. You get what you pay for on this channel. But anyway, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Again, love him or hate him, doesn't matter which guy you're picking. I dread the Thomas Mulcair win the most because it's scary. I still say Harper's our best option. I'm not giving him a rating endorsement, but you know, one thing they are saying is that they don't really want to change anything. They just want to keep the course, so you know what to expect. But with Justin Trudeau and Thomas Mulcair, there's a bit of a blind side there, and I think people are kind of worried about that, or kind of what the hell, you know, what are they really going to be up to? So, trying new things, experimenting stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but one thing Stephen Harper did say was that the economies are around the world, you know, like the plans that the Liberals and the NDP are proposing is the same thing that led to Greece, Spain, Italy. He won't call the countries out by name, but he says that's what's led to the global economic crisis. And we weathered that fairly well, but we're still doing the same thing as everybody else. So, you know, we just haven't hit the 2008 crisis yet, but it's coming. And he's out there at least telling us, hey, look out, there's bad things on the horizon. We're going to, it's not because it's on his watch. Look, if the economy goes tomorrow and he's still prime minister, you're going to blame him. But let's say in the 12th week when another leader leads and, you know, the first week into office and the economy collapses, you're going to say, wow, it was because of Harper. And then 4 years later you say, wow, it's because of Harper. 8 years later, wow, it's because of Harper. No, they already did that to George Bush. Obama's had 8 years or 6 years or whatever to fix the problem. And he's made it much, much worse. So really, you do have to look at the policies they stand for. Because right after the 1933 stock market crash, 1929, 1933, it only took a year and a half, or 18 months or so, a year and a half, to get the economy going again once the government got out of the way. Problem is we have so much freaking government now. It's just too much. And again, another socialist point of the Harper government, this is why I call them socialist, is the government's never been bigger, and our deficit as well. But you have to understand, our deficit has a lot to do with the economic situation around the world. So, well, again, who's the lesser of the evils? That's up for you to try. I'm not telling you how to vote. But right now, we don't really have a viable option. Yes, there are some small parties out there. Green Party is not an option. They wouldn't know how to run the place. They wouldn't. The Canadian National Party, I think they're the Libertarian Party. Got some good ideas. I'm totally against open borders. I mean, I bitch enough about 250,000 people coming in, that type of thing. And they're not quite big enough from the point of view that they don't have enough representation in all provinces to really make a go of it. But you know, I do like the idea of if we had a libertarian option. On a bigger scale, so you know. Remember, there's over 19 political parties in Canada. There's a Marxist there's a communist and Marxist communist and Maoist party in Canada. Every time I see those so-called communist students that are been brainwashed by their professors and stuff and teachers of how awesome socialism is, and communism really could work if they would just give it a chance. And I see them running around those red shirts with the big CCCP on it and the hammer and sickle. I'm like, the only thing I see, okay, the first guy walked by, that represented 80 million dead from Mao Zedong. The second guy with the cap, he walked by, he represents Pol Pot with 20 million. Third guy, he represents Joseph Stalin with 20 million. Again, when I see the Che Guevara hat, how many, 1.5 million dead there? Again, yeah, revolutionary though. He was a revolutionary, yeah, but he wasn't a good guy. I see the guy wearing the, the green cap with the star on, a Cuban. Oh yeah, Fidel Castro took 80 guys and overran a government. Yeah, Cuba's never been much more of a prosperous place than it's ever been. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, communism, no. But in a free, democratic society, I agree with the right to be able to express your your point of view and stuff like that on that. But I also agree with the right to be able to call you out on it. In a Marxist society, it's like we like Kim Jong-un would say, we value the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, and you have the right to say what you want. Choose your words wisely. Why? The firing wall is over there. Anyway, I digress. So we'll keep an eye on this, see how it goes. You guys put down what you want. Again, you want to flame this politician, flame that politician, blast away. Again, I'm not trying to convince anybody which way to go. My position is pretty much, as a gun owner, we got one choice, it's the Conservatives. Economically, we can look at the track record of the Conservatives and say, okay, well, we know what to expect. We can look at the track record of the NDP provincially. I'm telling you what I'm experiencing now in Quebec. We're not getting prosperity in Quebec. I can also tell you, from a liberal, 12 years of liberal. Again, I'm old enough to be able to call bullshit on all sides, right? So none of them are going to be saints, but it's just, who are you going to vote against? Not who are you going to vote for, who are you going to vote against? So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you very much to everybody who has. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. Good day, hi, and welcome. All right, it is blustery hot out there, but not as bad as yesterday, so I just cut some wood and had to get. I was just soaked. I had to take a shower there. My chainsaw was sweating. I didn't think a chainsaw could sweat, but yeah, apparently they can. It's like give me I don't break, man. But anyway, that would pile down. So just so you know, hard work, you accomplish things. But anyway, to the task at hand, and that is the election. Okay, so I listened to Harpers speak today. I've listened to Justin Trudeau a little bit. I haven't heard what Thomas Mulcair is offering today. I'll start with Harper because he's the guy who's got everything to lose right now, and it looks like what they were talking about, what I jumped into in watching, was they were talking about crime and stuff like that, and life means life is the new bill that they want to table, and then if they get a next election. Now they tabled this before, but they didn't get a chance to get it done. And the reporters were there. So the ones that actually asked questions on policy, they were saying, well, what about rehabilitation and stuff like that? And again, everybody kicks Harper in the nuts when they ask. There's nobody giving him easy questions at all. You know what I mean? Because again, the guy, you have to understand the CBC. All they keep asking about is the Duffy trial. But you have to understand, and you already seen the propaganda from the CBC. Harper's got to be accountable for cutting the CBC because it's such a great thing. They're going to cut more from the CBC. That's a good thing. I'm for that. Thomas Mulcair wants to restore the $150 million that they cut from the CBC. I'm like, the Harper government only cut $150 million from the CBC? Privatize the damn thing already. It's like, get rid of it. Even people in the CRTC were saying that, look, the CBC, isn't what it was designed to be. It didn't come out. It's now, top 40, the guy basically said that the programming is junk. And, the news side of it, no problem, but again, it's supposed to be non-biased, but it's clearly, you could, in the last election, they were pushing the narrative of the Liberal government. This time they're really pushing the Tom Mulcair as a saint kind of thing, because he's the one that's going to give them the most, right? But they're not supposed to be doing that. That goes against the CBC's principles and journalistic integrity in the first place. So they're out there doing that. So they're really trying to make Harper look bad. And I'm not saying Harper's a saint, but you could see the agenda. Everybody's got an agenda, right? So they're talking about that. Meanwhile, other people people in the crowd are like, enough already. Like there's 6 questions in a row about the Duffy trial. One's enough. They move along. And people, so I think a lot of people see the Duffy trial for what it is. Yes, it's a scandal, short, but like anything, it's scandal-light in comparison to the billions of dollars boondoggles that the Liberals have done over the years, and it's just scam after scam after scam, right? We'll even start with the gun registry. I mean, $2 billion, nobody could track a cent of it. $58 million to run the darn thing, according to the RCMP report. So people are sick and tired of those kind of things. So when they see this, they say, okay, well, we get it. It's bad, but is Harper guilty of anything? And even is Mike Duffy guilty? I mean, I don't really understand what this trial's about. Now, Mike Duffy, he's a bastard. He is. He's going through this trial, and they keep bringing the witnesses that he's already on the upper hand here. Okay, but this is the kind of guy he is. He's trying to make Harper look bad out of, to get vengeance, like that type of thing. His lawyer has already kind of cleared the guy. I mean, I don't like Duffy and stuff like that. And yeah, I think he should be charged. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the hand, they're keeping it. He's keeping him and his lawyer keeping the trial. That part of the trial going through the election to hurt the Conservatives, so it's clear and obvious. It doesn't matter if you're for them or against them. Everybody has an agenda, and you better believe after the election. I mean, you're not going to hear nothing about that trial hardly at all. But you can see that there's people that this is the only thing we got on him was if that's the only thing you've got on Harper, that's not too bad considering it's not good, but it's and even at that, it's not really him. It's between two other guys. So yes, it was under his watch, but it's like a store owner owns a store and two guys are running drugs out of the back of the store and he doesn't know about it, and all of a sudden, it's that you have to prove that this guy knew, right? So it is what it is. So is the scandal bad? Yes, scandal is bad, but a scandal light. All the conservative scandals so far really have been scandal light, but they are scandals, and yes, that should be addressed and that should be taken care of. But you got to see it for what it is in comparison to what we're going to get with the NDP. It's going to be, look, they're talking about $130,000. Meanwhile, Thomas Mulcair's party was, getting something like $2 million from the taxpayer to run offices they didn't use. You know what I mean? So, and nobody's talking about that. It's bizarre, but I digress. So anyway, one reporter asks, policy questions on the life means life, and what about rehabilitation? And Harper, I think he said it the way most Canadians see it. He says, look, don't get me wrong. There's a scary, this can go out of control. That it's the criminal justice systems. We need it to be the victim's justice system, meaning these. Personally, I don't believe in parole. I don't believe in it at all. When you get charged for something and you're found guilty, I believe in your day in court. That goes without saying. I believe in due process. But when you're found guilty, no early parole for good behavior, nothing. You did the crime, you're going to do the time. And I think that's what they're moving towards. However, how far will they step over the line is, okay, we no longer need warrants, and, that type of stuff. That's what people have to worry about. But what he's saying